Story of my life. Oh,
Oh,
now we're live. There it goes.
We're live. Hooray.
Took long enough.
We did it.
All right. I don't want to look at banners. Okay. Why are you being complicated today? All right.
Oh, getting that Facebook notification. Dawn Brown is now live. I'm like, really? I had no idea.
Right. Jeez. All right. So we won't be able to see names of people who comment in the DMV group. It's really oddly set up. Like they have to go through something specific so that it'll show their name. YouTube people will be able to see, but I keep it open so that I actually know who comments. So we'll see how long that delay is. All right. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome. So for everybody who's watching, tell us a little bit about yourself. How'd you get here to where you are these days?
Oh gosh. Well, I'm Kazzy. On Instagram, I'm known as Emo Hippie Chick for my modeling page. And then I have my photography page, Snazzy Kazzy Photos. And then also I have my mermaid specific page for, family members who don't want to see my tits. That's Inked Mermaid or The Inked Mermaid. I think.
You know what? I didn't put that in the link either. I forgot about that one.
That's okay. Like I'm really very rarely on it because I try to keep it very mermaid specific because I just have the family and friends who are like, oh, look, our friend Kazzy's a mermaid, without, again, all the other content.
Hi, Tara. Tara Bennett.
Hello.
All right. So what got you started? How'd you get into modeling? Because you started with modeling before photography, right?
I did. I technically started with modeling back in 2012, I believe.
Oh wow, okay.
And then I always joke, I did what I now tell new models never ever to do. And I looked at ads on Craigslist. I had all my friends and everyone were like, oh, you should be a model, haha. And then eventually I was like, you know what? Sure. Why not? So I went on Craigslist. Unfortunately, my first experience was a very positive one. Mm-hmm. I found a hair and makeup artist who wanted to, do my makeup and hair and get some pictures. Okay. So it was fine.
You survived, apparently.
Yeah. Obviously, beware with Craigslist ads.
I'm sure.
That's how I first started. And then I found Model Mayhem, and I used that to find people.
I want to come back and touch on that later. But keep going. Model Mayhem.
Oh, I was very awkward. Modeling at first. I was
I love it.
Just
the hand model.
Right. Or just the fake face. I call that the fake face, where they just go.
Uh-huh.
It kind of drives me nuts when I go to a model's profile and that's all I see for facial expression. Just the big.
I get it. Cheesy face.
And then I modeled, I think, for about 2 years. And then I got sick and I had surgery. I had my gallbladder removed. I gained a ton of weight. I lost my confidence. So I didn't model again after, I guess, 2013 or so until I think it was around 2019, maybe. It was around 2019 that I started up again.
Okay.
So I'm really glad I did. Like, I hadn't lost the weight, but I just kind of decided, screw it. Like, I need to own it and I need to love myself and flaunt it and all that. So I think modeling really helped my self-confidence at that point. And then in around 2020, COVID hobby, I decided to pick up photography.
Okay. So that's how you got into doing the photography versus just the modeling.
Yes. And it was really nice because as a model, I had a lot of model friends. So I had a lot of volunteers to help me get into the photography.
Sure.
And I already knew other photographers and I knew studios. So I feel like I kind of had a leg up already.
Okay.
At least for photography specifically in the model industry.
Okay. All right. I could see that. So I wanted to touch back on, actually, we're going to touch first. there's a phrase that you started using that I love, and you said it wasn't yours, but you use
It
it.
wasn't. It's a modelographer. I wish I
I
could
love
tell
it.
you where I first heard it. I can't remember, but I just remember hearing
Okay.
modelographer or like a photographer. Someone said, "Oh, so you're a modelographer?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Sure, not a problem. I like it. I like it. First time you said it, I think that's your TikTok or something. I was
Yeah,
like,
that's my TikTok
I like
because I just
that.
wanted to kind of combine instead of it's so hard having multiple accounts on
Oh
multiple
yeah.
social media. So for my
Oh yeah.
TikTok, I'm like, I'll lump it all
I
into
say it all the time. I need a
one,
handler.
right?
You just go do it for me. That'd be great.
Well, if we could start
I don't
making
have one,
money,
but I'd
we could
love
hire
one.
someone. But until we're really making that revenue,
I know.
we're kind of stuck doing it ourselves.
Like, well, one day I'll be able to afford just to have somebody do it for me. Today is not that day though. um, Model Mayhem, let's talk about that because that's
Okay.
one thing I haven't talked about on here. And I have an account. I don't use it. It feels like they didn't adapt and keep up with the times. Do you still use it?
Technically, I haven't found like new contacts or anything through it for a while.
Okay.
Honestly, mostly like on my photography page, I mostly either get traveling models who are asking me
Okay.
if I want to book them for a shoot. And at this point, I'm
Okay.
not doing a whole lot of that unless you can really offer something special. Because my
Sure.
portfolio is already pretty established.
Right.
Um, and then on the flip side, I get old dudes who want me to take naked pictures of them.
Of course.
I'm as long as they're polite, I'm polite. I tell them I'm sorry, I don't think I'm a good fit for you, but I wish you luck
Yeah.
because at this point, I've tried giving people the benefit of the doubt before, and it goes from very quickly from, oh well, I just want to do some artistic nude stuff to I want to
Yeah. Erotica.
pleasure myself in front of
Right.
you. And then
Right.
I'm just not prepared for that mentally at the point. There's nothing wrong with me. I'm just not the person for it.
No, I get that. I get that. I've had that too. And it's interesting. I don't mind working with men, but I vet the men a lot
Yeah.
differently than I vet the women. And there was only one time where it was a really awkward experience. And it felt more like what am I looking for? Do you like my photo? Which one's your favorite? Like, it was
Yeah.
just like this, like feeding the ego kind of thing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I like them all. Like, I don't know how to answer that, and not make it weird. But no, I get
Yeah.
that. So you don't really necessarily use your Model Mayhem, but you just still have one.
I do. I'll advertise if I have a workshop, or sometimes I'll look to see local models or photographers. But I
Okay.
haven't gotten any like paid work from there in a long time.
Okay. Now, which one do you feel like you do more now? Do you feel like you do more modeling, or is it a balance between the modeling and the photography?
I feel like it kind of varies month to month. It just depends on who's interested in stuff. I think I'm leaning more towards the photography because I think on the modeling side, I've had just a little bit of burnout between people not wanting to pay for a
Sure.
shoot. And then when I do agree to do like a fun TFP shoot, I don't get pictures back.
Sure.
So at this point, I just can't really afford to be spending money on outfits and makeup and spending my time and get literally
Right.
nothing out of it. So right now I'm
Yeah.
only doing TFP with people I already have an established relationship with, like you
Sure.
or a few select others. But if you're brand
Mhm.
new, like unless you're just really like, oh, some famous, really well respected
Yeah.
photographer, or if you have something really cool, if you're like, hey, I booked us, like, I know, and I think it's in Ohio, they have like a wolf sanctuary. It's like, if someone's like, oh, do you want to do a photo shoot with wolves? I, you
Right.
know, it has to
Yeah.
be a lot to, if I
Yeah.
don't know you, for me to
So
really
it
do
has
this trade.
basically it has to be an experience.
It
You
does.
know what I
Or
mean?
I have to know you. If you wanna book me for a shoot and I really like working with you, then maybe we can do TFP later.
Right.
Or I might even agree to a discounted shoot, but I'm just not
I don't blame you.
not giving away my time as a model. As a photographer, I'm a lot more lenient with it because I
Sure.
know I'm getting pictures.
Yeah.
Unless the model's a no-show, you know, but
Yeah.
that's why a lot of time for TFP with new models, I'll either have it be a group thing, so it's okay if someone ghosts me,
Right.
or I'll have it be like in my hometown, so that way at least I didn't drive very far.
Right. Right. No, I get it.
Like I know I'm getting pictures at any group event. I know I'm getting pictures of the photographer. Maybe the models won't be very good. Maybe the location will suck, but I will get
Mhm.
pictures no matter what. And as a model, I don't have that guarantee.
Sure, sure. And I hear that a lot too. I don't think I've ever had anybody I've worked with that I've never given photos. Maybe they haven't gotten quite so much just because something was just weird or
Yeah.
wonky that day. Like the one I went to over the weekend, the water was just, it was the murkiest water I have been in so far. And I warned everybody, I'm like, I love you guys and I want to give you amazing pictures, but I don't know how amazing they're going to be. Sorry. Um,
You're
but
always very honest and upfront. That's a huge thing for me too, is communication.
agreed. Agreed. I'm a little annoying though. I'm like, so hey, I haven't forgotten about you. I'm like,
I will
I
take that
promise I
over
haven't.
nothing. I hate when, like, I usually try to wait what I consider a respectful amount of time. Like I'll wait at least 3 to 4 weeks before I just
Mhm.
do a gentle check-in. I don't be like, hey, where are my pictures? I'll
Right.
be like, oh, hey, could I get an estimate on when you might be able to get some pictures back to me? I understand you're
Mhm.
busy.
Sure.
And then they'd be like, yeah, I'll get it to you. And then I'll wait another 3 or 4 weeks. And then I'm like,
So hey.
yo. And then I start feeling like an asshole, but that's why I need that communication. I love it when people check in and be like, hey, my bad. It's going to be like 4 weeks because I had this crazy work trip or whatever else. Like I'm usually
Right.
pretty understanding. But
Well, and
communicate.
I think it comes back to too, because I keep hearing two thought processes. My thought process is, especially if we're doing TFP, we both get the photos.
Oh
But
yeah.
other photographers feel like if you do TFP, not everybody gets the photos. And they damn sure don't get them if they get paid for, which I don't understand either. Like if I came to you and I'm like, hey, I'm going to pay you $500 because I want to shoot this
Yeah.
concept. A lot of photographers wouldn't share those photos. And I don't know that I understand that because it feels like a group effort, but maybe it's because I'm not doing it like, like family photos and weddings or something. I don't know, but
Yeah.
TFP just feels like if everybody's collaborating and putting money and time in, like everybody should get a photo.
Oh, absolutely. I agree with that too. Some people, the thing is, some photographers advertise model calls, but what they really mean is a client call. Where they're
Okay.
saying they'll waive just the actual show up fee, but then you have to pay for photos. But that's not a trade shoot between a model and a photographer. If you're like,
Yeah.
hey, I'll shoot you, but you have to pay, $50 per photo or whatever. No, you're looking for clients. That's not a
Yeah.
trade shoot. A trade shoot is you don't spend money on me and I don't spend
Hmm.
money on you. We might be
Right.
spending money on the studio or
Hmm.
on our equipment or outfits or whatever, but I'm not
Right.
paying you and you're not paying me. We're doing this for
So
the art or for
you bring up a
portfolios.
Yeah, you bring up a really good point though. I have seen a lot of the like photographer scammy type stuff like,
Yeah.
hey, here's a fashion show. Here's what the photographers pay to participate. And I'm like, no, that's not how we do this. What are some of the things that you have come across with like the modeling side of it where like you've gone to look into something and you're like, yeah, something's not right here.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the time, a lot of the online, like in the Facebook groups and stuff, if they're like, oh, fashion call for models, and the pay will be like $1,000 for 2 hours. I'm like,
Yeah.
already, I'm like, this is a scam. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably
Uh-huh.
is. At the very best, it's some kind of scam. At
Right.
worst, it's a sex trafficking ring.
I gotcha.
And then if you're not sure, if you're like, oh well, the pay seems reasonable, but this just seems very copy paste. Like I look to see if people copy paste the same message over and over in groups. I'll
Okay.
go on their actual Facebook page, and if it's brand new, if there's absolutely no information on there, or if there's
Yeah.
conflicting information, like I saw an ad and it said this person was a model living in Austin, but worked for this group in California and this group in New York and this group in Arizona, and they were advertising for a shoot in DC. I'm like, doesn't add up. I think they just added a bunch of tags
Cities.
to make
Yeah.
it legit.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, I mean, that's good to know because I mean, I've seen some of the model call stuff, and I always love it when I get the spam email because it literally goes into my spam. That's like, "Hey, we want to hire you," and it's like, I'm like, "Are they looking for a model?" Like it reads like they're looking for. I'm like, "You got the wrong person." So that's when you know that you're like, "All right, something's not right here." What would be, and I ask this of most people, what would be your advice to somebody trying to get into modeling?
I mean, I guess the classic answer, right, is don't. I think that's what most people say.
You know what I love? What I love about that statement is Josh Trigg said the same thing about being a photographer.
Yeah, I watched it, not live, but I did watch that recently. It's just a classic. My cat is trying to.
Oh, which kitty is attacking it?
It's Mindy. It's this one.
Hi,
My baby
Mindy.
girl.
She's like, my name? Who said my name?
But if someone does want to go into modeling, first off, avoid Craigslist.
Scott St. John, don't.
Yeah.
Best advice.
I know. I did not say it. But I would say, I know no one wants to pay at the beginning, but I really recommend you do, because if you, as a model or photographer, if you paid a more experienced party, they can give you advice.
Right.
They can get you connections. They can get you good pictures that will look good in your portfolio. Because while it's tempting as a brand new model to work with a brand new photographer, you're going to get bad pictures and you're going to look like a bad model. And neither of you will really be helping each other learn anything.
Sure.
You know, because neither of you is experienced. Neither of you knows if you're doing the right thing. Always bring an escort.
I like that one.
You know, I think us vet models are pretty bad at that because we feel so comfortable at just going to shoots.
Sure.
But it's still a really good idea. And this could, even if it's someone that you've worked with before, you honestly just never know, unfortunately. You know, want to believe the best in people, but we got to prepare for the worst in people to keep ourselves safe. Don't drink anything from a new photographer. Bring your own bottled water and keep it on you and keep an eye on it. Sure. Tell a friend where you're going and who you're going to be with. Let's see. And then for the actual modeling aspect, huge is just relax. It shows so much in the photos if you're stressed and nervous or if you're not feeling confident. If you're modeling, even if you don't love yourself 100% of the time, which that's pretty impossible to do for most people I know, but even if you don't love how you're looking that day, you got to put on a show. To me, modeling is acting. You are putting on a performance.
Yeah.
You are playing a character for the camera. So even if you're like, oh, I feel really fat today, you got to go on camera and be like, oh, I look amazing.
I'm owning it today.
You know, obviously, unless it's supposed to be a depressing emotion. You know, but again, with the acting, you have to play whatever role you're supposed to be playing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Now, what about as you have grown as a model, what are some of the resources that you've used? Because it's one thing to go get in front of a camera and have a photographer tell you, move here, hold, whatever. Yeah. But what kind of resources have you used to grow as a model?
I think it's just been really helpful just befriending other models who are more experienced and have had different experiences than you.
Okay.
You can look up, the internet is such a great tool. You can look up model pose flow. Okay. Because that's super important, especially if you want to be paid as a model. You should know how to flow. You should wait for a click. And then you need to move an arm, a leg, both, move your head, change your facial expression. You need to learn how to do all these things seamlessly. So that way the photographer isn't getting a bunch of the same picture. Although, of course, some photographers prefer completely directing. And you just have to, especially if you're getting paid, do whatever the photographer wants. But I think if you're expecting payment, you need to be comfortable posing. You need to know what looks good on your body type and with what outfit you're wearing. And again, lots of moving in the face too. I think even experienced models have a lot of trouble changing up their facial expression because you're already focusing on so many other things that
Yeah,
sometimes you forget
absolutely.
this moves too.
Uh-huh. Well, and I think it was I haven't talked to her in forever. I think Tracy, one of the things she said at one of the shoots where she's like, look, she's like, if photographers pay me, I'm just gonna do what's asked, as long as it's within reason, of course.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm their canvas for the day. That's what they hired me for. She's like, doesn't mean I won't have input if it's necessary, but for the most part, whatever it is that they want to shoot, that's what I signed up for. But okay. So let's see. You got into the photography.
Mhm.
So what tools and resources do you use for that?
Again, other photographers. I had a
Okay.
few. I definitely attended a lot of events and workshops and stuff at the beginning. I know
Sure.
we brought up Josh Triggs earlier. He was a huge mentor of mine. I really appreciated all the help he gave me when I started going to events, and he was really supportive and telling me, who to avoid in the industry. Definitely, that's one of our favorite topics.
I
Even
hear
today.
you. I
But
hear
just
you.
and then Samantha at
Marshall.
Samantha Marshall, and then Danny Douglas were also two who were very helpful to me at the beginning. Danny helped
Okay.
me get out of manual, or not out of manual, into manual.
Into manual.
I was
Well,
scared to dip my toes in there.
Samantha's actually going to be on next week.
Oh, okay.
Michelle said, hi. She said, I agree 100%. I've tried to model a few times and the tense and stress shows 100%. Great advice, though. I'm taking notes.
Oh, well,
Michelle's a
good. I'm glad
photographer.
that this is helpful. I think so. Just back to what she's saying with advice. If you're ever in a spot where you can, I highly recommend taking dance class and taking acting class, because both are going to get you more comfortable with how your body moves and how to relax in that kind of environment.
That's why a
I
lot of
did acting
photographers.
and dance growing up, and I think it helped me so much.
Oh, yeah. Well, a lot of photographers prefer working with dancers because the body lines are so much different. They know their bodies differently and they can give different body shapes. And Josh Triggs said,
I
all
love
love you,
you too,
Katherine.
Josh is the best. He's my dude right here. And his studio is the best. I know you already did a whole spiel with him, a couple weeks ago, but my
We're just
input,
representing. We're
Josh is the
representing over
best.
here. Yeah, so the event stuff, I will say
Yeah.
that was probably how I did the most amount of networking. And then, so that you can have the photos so that you can do the editing. And then the editing was the thing. I'm like, I don't know if I want to do this. I don't want to do this. I'm going to do it. I don't want to do this. And still, even now, I send you photos. I'm like, oh, Kazzy, I got to fix your toe, or I got to add black, or it's always something.
I appreciate your attention to fine detail, but I totally hear that. It was a huge learning curve from back when I first started editing photos, and I was like, oh yeah, I nailed this. This is so great. And I look at those pictures now and I'm like, oh, this looks like a 12-year-old did this. Oh.
Well, it seems to be everybody's progression, though, because I have the same thing. Like, if I go back to that first year where I had a camera again and I started doing it again, I'm like, why did I think that was good? But we think it's good because we're so excited about it and we learned something new and we practiced and we tried. And it's like, then once you get good at it, you're like, oh, I need to pull that photo from the internet,
Yeah. It's okay. It's really important to look back, because I think just like with most other skills you develop in life, it's a slow progression. So you don't really notice how much better you've become. So you got to hold on to those cringy first few photos. You go, okay, I'm at least better than I was then. I still have room to grow. And that's important too, for both modeling and photography and anything. No matter how good you are, why not try to be better?
Yeah.
Always try to be better. Always try to learn something new. Always try to go out of your comfort zone.
Absolutely. Your next fan, Marlena. Hi, beautiful ladies. Kazzy, where do you find your clothing and different props for modeling? Also, for your mermaid shoots. Love you, babes.
Okay, well, first off, I love Marlena.
We all
Anyone
love
in the
Marlena.
DMV area who needs a makeup artist should absolutely hit her up. She's just great at just day-to-day makeup, glamour makeup, special effects makeup. I know that was the first time I met you, Dawn, right? Where I had the half blue, half red, very David
Yep.
Bowie.
Yep.
Fantastic. But
Yeah, and I actually shared that photo. I only did one of them. I actually shared that photo when I did Marlena's live because there's like it was just you walked in. I'm like, what? I like it. You know, it's just it was like in your face. I'm like, I'm game. I'm in.
But yes, to answer your question, kind of all over. I do find stuff on Amazon and Shein, and I know those are both terrible companies, but I'm on a budget
You and everybody
most of the
else.
time. And then when I'm not on a budget, I buy crazy stuff like my mermaid tails. All of my tails have been from Mer Tailor. Finfolk Productions is another big one, but I don't really do both because there's a monofin insert that goes in that allows you to swim in them, and the style is different for
Oh,
Mer
see, I didn't know
Tailor
that. I didn't
and
know that.
Finfolk. To stop you, like you
Yeah,
have to buy only their stuff. You know?
proprietary. Yeah,
So I do
that's
Mer
how they get you.
Tailor. My biggest splurge was on both the silicone monofin and the tail, which is made out of a scuba fabric. It was about $800.
Ouch.
The only reason I did that is because I got excited because I did a fetish slime photo shoot and I got
Oh, I remember
$800
that. I
for
remember
2
that.
hours of work. So I was like, oh, I'm going to treat
Crazy.
myself.
I remember that because I remember talking to you about it, and then you sent me the video after, and I'm like, more power to you, girl. She goes, it's so gross, Dawn. It's so gross.
It is. It's really good money though, but it is gross. But there is like there's a scale of prices for mermaid tails.
Sure.
Which I feel like you did a interview with Citrus Siren too, right? I don't know if she went into the pricings of tails, but you can do the oh, what's it called? Fin Fun,
Okay, I've heard of
which you can
that.
find on Amazon, and you can get a insert and tail for like $50 or something.
Right.
And then there's
That's
the
what
fabric tails, which with
I
the
thought the fin fun was a fabric tail.
it is. I was
Okay.
gonna say fabric tails with the silicone inserts from like
Okay.
Art Taylor or Finfolk or something. That can be between $100 and like $700,
Okay.
depending on like if you have extra fins on it, if you're just getting the tail, or if you're getting the monofin and the tail. And then there's the full silicone tails,
Right.
which I'm not
That's
currently in
when
a place where I can afford them because those are usually on average at least $2,000. But they
yeah.
are the most realistic. It's like hand carved, each individual scale
Sure.
kind of thing.
Yeah. I love the fact that it's your cat this time because my cat has literally been in every live I've done so far. This is the first one so far he hasn't been in, but I think he went out like right before we got started. So he
I
still
have
might make
3
an appearance
cats,
of it.
so they'll be probably,
In and out.
I was going to say, and then I got my mermaid top from Citrus Siren, her lemonade mermaid
Yeah.
shop. Sometimes I make my own stuff. Right now I'm making I got like a white bra and a white corset, and I got a bunch of pieces of fake candy, and I'm just gluing them
Okay.
all over there. Sometimes
Those
I
are
buy
my
stuff other
favorites.
people made.
Those are my favorite things, though. That's like covering the helmet and glitter. I had you in mind for that. I just want you to know. I
Yes.
was like, Kazzy would do this.
Yeah, she's doing extra fun, fabulous stuff that maybe I have to Google how to do it. And maybe I start with a process in mind, and then as my friend Fervid Faye likes to tease me, I'm a very impatient person who takes on very time-consuming projects.
Uh-huh. I'll sign up for that.
He doesn't know why I do it, but it's because I get excited in the moment. And
She's
like,
another one.
oh,
She's another one I need to have on because
oh,
she
she's
just makes my heart happy.
She's
She
lovely.
makes my
I
heart
love
happy.
Fervid Faye. And again, I love having so many model friends. I am also very close with Anastasia May.
Yeah.
I really love Inara the Slut, even though she lives all the way in Maryland, so I don't see her very much, but she's a very lovely person.
I haven't met her in person yet. I do follow her, and I think I've chatted with her a bit, but I've never met her.
Lovely person. Jade Marie Model is in Pennsylvania.
I've never met her.
But she's fantastic. We're always pumping each other up on Instagram. She's just a very upbeat person. Oh, I get just so many. Like I can just
just like name off people.
But definitely Anastasia May and Fervid Faye are like my close homies.
Right.
And, they
show up for wing night.
They show up for wing night. You know, we hang out socially. Although Fervid Faye moved to Pennsylvania, so I don't see her as much anymore. But I
thought she was coming back. We don't have to talk about it here, but I thought she was coming back.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think she was at some point. Like she had gone to North Carolina and she was going to come back, but she decided to go to Pennsylvania because it was.
Oh, okay.
Anastasia May still lives very close to me, so we hang out and do shoots a lot.
I steal her too. She's another one of my favorites. I just always want to hug you guys though. Like that's it. Granted, I'm a hugger, but it's just like there are some people you're just like, oh, I missed you. You know, you just want to hug everybody. All right. So we talked about sourcing. Is there anywhere for you and I'm asking this because I know you well enough that you and I toss ideas back and forth all the time. Where does some of that come from for you? Is it just something that hits your head one day? Do you scroll past something? Where does inspiration come from for you?
So yeah, it's absolutely a combination of things. Sometimes I will see something on Instagram or whatever, and while, you know, I don't ever want to copy somebody, sometimes that can inspire me to do something. Sometimes I'll see like a drawing of something and be like, how can I make that work? You know, I want to see how that goes. Sometimes it's honestly alcohol-induced creativity. Like I know it was my birthday and I was drinking with Fervid Faye and Anastasia, and we're like, you know what would be great? Like donut porn. So I guess I don't know how family friendly we're supposed to be on
That's fine.
But like no actual sexual acts happened. But I got a purple dildo and I put donuts on it, and then Fervid Faye and Anastasia May were just eating the donuts off of it. And I have no idea how we came up with it, but we were just drinking. We were like, you know what we haven't seen? We haven't seen this.
I love it.
And then I was I know. It's hard to follow that up, but sometimes it's just totally out of the blue, or like I'll read an article about something like this isn't something I've done yet, but it's on my bucket list. I read an article about how moose are found in the stomachs of orcas.
Okay.
So that means that killer whales have access to moose, and it turns out that moose are able to dive pretty deep into the ocean, and they graze on plants on the bottom of figuratively fell for, but you know, like 12 feet or something.
Sure.
They'll dive 12 feet in there and get the plants, and it's unsure if the orcas actually hunt them or if the moose just accidentally drown and then later get eaten. Okay. But anyway, that made me think moose mermaid. That makes moose mermaid completely canon. So I really want to do like the horns that have like hoofed hands and the tail at some point. I haven't been able to find a good moose head yet. I want like a realistic, like taxidermy style moose head.
I just need to make sure you don't drown, because we know what wardrobe malfunctions look like when we deal with water. I actually had that happen with River over the weekend when she had these little fairy wing things attached. She went under. The water was so murky, I could see her outline, but I could not see her. Apparently the wings did one of these bits across her face on her way up. So she was just, I actually captured that photo underwater. She was fine. And there was somebody at the top, but I couldn't see her. I didn't know there was a problem, you know? And we know wardrobe malfunctions are always a thing, especially if it's over your face.
Oh yeah, I mean, when we did the Grim Reaper one,
Mm-hmm.
that was a thing where I can't when you come up, the water makes it harder to breathe through it. Like the fact that it is
Mm-hmm.
now wet, so I have
Yep.
to like actually remove the thing off my head, or else I'm kind of gasping a little bit. But it's stuff you learn. This is why we gain our experience in pools, so we have easy access to get out of the pool if
Right,
we need
right.
to. Um,
Yeah. I mean,
yeah,
it's kind of why.
heavy and you don't expect it,
Mhm.
and then things float when you don't expect. So that's the
Fair.
opposite problem. My
It's
shoes.
fair. Huh, your
Remember,
shoes were my favorite because you fought for it, girl.
I did.
You fought for it. That's why there's a photo of what looks like you're standing up, but you're literally upside down. I'm like, we're owning this somehow. I don't know what we're doing with it, but we're doing
Yeah, I think at
something
that
with
point I was like, we're giving up on this, and I'm just going to be upside down so my feet are on top. At the beginning, I was not prepared, and I was just flipping all over the place because I guess the styrofoam or whatever that was in the platform boots
Uh-huh.
made them very floaty.
Well, and it's like best laid plans. Like you think you know what you're doing, and then you're like in it, you're like, oh, nope, that's not gonna work. But we're gonna try something.
But again, that's the beauty of it. You have to always be trying and failing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
We're
Um
artists.
well, and I think part of it too is even with the underwater stuff, it's like the risks that you're willing to take.
Mhm.
Like when we do the pool, like I prefer the pool because it's a controlled environment. Like I don't always love the fact that I have to remove all of the pool stuff out of the shot as much as I can, but I would rather do that than not know somebody was in trouble while we're in open water. And that somebody might be me. Because I mean I can swim, but when I put extra weight on, it gets a little sketchy.
I mean, that's why I think next on my list is doing like a freshwater or, like a stream. Like, I really want to go to Ginny Springs in Florida.
So I will send you a separate message on that because Star and I
Okay.
are talking about going down in September.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I figured that at least like that's less scary to me than ocean, which has
Yeah.
riptides and
Yeah.
sharks and stinging jellyfish and other stuff that makes me concerned. I know that the biggest concern should be riptides, but like you can't see it. So out of sight, out of mind, the
Mm-hmm.
big thing that's swimming towards me is what's scaring me right now.
Uh-huh. Well, that's actually one of the reasons I haven't done the open water is
Yeah.
when I was younger, there were snapping turtles and a really like
Ooh.
mucky like lake pond
I mean,
thing
those
that I
can be
had been
pretty
in.
aggressive, right?
They were like this big. And like at that age, I was probably like 7 or 9, and like
Oh,
my ankle would have been gone.
yeah,
You
I
know
know,
what I
right?
mean? It's just after that, I'm like, no, I'm good. If I can't see it, I don't need to be in it. But I do appreciate the pools because at least it gives us a little bit more of a controlled environment.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes trying to track down a decent pool is the hardest part. Whether that's clarity, whether it's size, whether it's depth, it's like you always giving up. It feels like you're always giving up one over the other, trying to like figure out which pool you're going to use.
Oh, absolutely. Like, even if it's a pool you use over and over again, it's still a gamble. If they put
Well,
too
yeah,
much chlorine this time, or it's
yeah,
been too long since they've cleaned their pool, or if it just rained the previous day,
that one,
that
yeah,
always
that one's been
happens
the biggest
to
thing.
us.
I know. We got lucky the last time, but
Yeah.
I hadn't done the saltwater pool until the last time we shot. And I didn't realize how much of a difference it was from the salt water to the chlorine.
Yeah,
And I like the salt water better, but it's harder to go down.
it is. That's
And
the trade-off.
yeah, exactly. But it was so clear
Yeah,
that like it was just like, well, we can do that again. And we almost got rained on, but we made it.
we
So
did. We did make it. But yeah, salt water is usually better clarity, usually.
yeah,
Unless someone just puts like way too much in there or something.
sure, sure.
But yeah, and then the sinking. I was struggling without the weight belt. I'd like to be able to do it without the weight belt, but salt water is still a little too much for me.
Well, yeah, because you float more in the salt water,
You do.
correct?
Yep, you're more buoyant. You float more in salt.
But No, I understand the whole weight thing because that first year, last year when we did it, I'm like, I just want to stay under like long enough to like think I took a proper photo. But my butt kept coming to the surface. I was like, there's got to be a way to do this. Finally figured it out this year. 20 pounds around my waist, and I can comfortably get up and down. Sometimes it's a little sketch coming back up if I get a little far out in the deep end. I'm like, you got this, Dawn.
That's why
more.
You gotta just stay near the wall.
Because over the weekend we had there was another photographer that was doing underwater in the pool, and he had brought a backdrop, and he had weights and to weigh everything down, and we were going to go down. He was getting ready to put fins. I'm like, it's fine, I got my weights on, I'll go down and get them. Well, I picked up 3 at the same time, and I almost went, oh shit, underwater, because I'm like, you got this, you can do it, like, because I have like another 30 pounds in my hand. I didn't register it at first. So yeah, the weight part's interesting. Takes some getting used to.
Oh yeah.
All right. So we've talked about inspiration. We have talked about advice. What are some of the things, like, do you have anything like big scheduled this year? Like, is there anything else like major coming down the pipeline?
I don't know about major. I know I do have an underwater shoot coming up on Monday. That's going to be with Kiati Photos. He does fantastic boudoir and maternity shoots, and recently I saw him do an underwater one, and it looked great. I was like, oh hey,
how you doing?
Underwater photographers are in pretty
low supply
things around here. Yeah, pretty low supply around here. Most of them I know are either in Florida or California.
Right.
So
because they can do it year round.
One, I'm like, ooh. So me and Anastasia and him are going to do some. He has like some couture gowns and stuff that he wants to get underwater pictures of. So we'll be doing that.
I want to build a dress for underwater. Like, I want to just build something really, really ridiculous.
You should do like a jellyfish themed one, because that's very flowy and underwater themed, and that can be as extra as you want it to be. Like if you want little like tentacles or like the big hat and stuff, like
I'm gonna be up to like 3 a.m. processing this now, right? I'm gonna be like, I could do this. No, you need to go to bed, Dawn. We'll have a conversation next week, I'm sure.
Yeah, but I'm taking Anastasia to the sunflower fields on Friday. Okay. I think I'll just.
It was my invite. You're right down the road from me, Missy. Again, fired, both of you.
Fired. Oh dear. I have a sunflower outfit coming that I want to do, but it's coming from China, so it's already been like 6 weeks, so I'm not sure where it is. Probably won't be here in time. But
no.
But that's what I'm excited about, because everyone's like, oh, everyone does it. Well, I haven't done it. Yeah. And that's what I think is important, is if you haven't done it yet, it doesn't matter if everyone's doing it or not.
Agreed.
Have a new experience.
Samantha Stevens Marshall.
Oh, well, hello. We were talking about you earlier. Hi.
No, I agree with you. And I think sometimes people have a tendency to steer away from certain things. And I'm one of those. Sometimes I have a tendency to steer away from certain things that feel a little cliche. Mm-hmm. I usually prefer, and you're very well aware, I like to do the things that like they look cool in the place, but they're not supposed to happen there.
Yeah.
Like that's the type of stuff that I usually find appealing. And some of the cliche stuff is like, I could do that. It's like, but I don't want to do that. I want to do whatever weird thing hit my brain.
Well, and that's key too, is do you want to do it? Obviously, don't make yourself do things if you don't want to. I'm just saying, don't feel bad. Don't feel like you're copying everyone else or anything. It's like, well, everyone's copying everyone else. And just in general, don't be like, oh, I want to do this, but I just saw someone else did this. I don't want them to think I'm copying them. Well, they copied someone else.
Right.
Honestly, there's really no truly 100% original ideas anymore. Like, you can do something, you can like show things in a different light or do things in a different way or whatever. But like there's this photographer I knew who is like, oh, everyone stole Naked Chick in the Woods from me. I'm like, no, dude, you stole that from like someone thousands of years ago.
Right.
That's not
Nobody owns that, I promise.
nobody owns that, you know, or just doing different cosplay characters or doing stuff like the sunflower stuff.
Right.
Or like I'll be doing the candy shoot, and I'll be honest, that is pretty inspired by I think it's Laura of the Dark. She's a fantastic photographer. I forget where she's located, but she did like this really intense candy like makeup outfit stuff that I was like, oh, that's amazing. So I'm going to be doing something not exactly like it, but definitely inspired me to. I'm going to do a regular version of my candy stuff, and I'm going to do a horror version where I got like prosthetics to put over your eyes so it looks like your eyes have been ripped out. And
Sure.
instead of the typical blood and stuff, I'm going to have candy coming out of my eye holes.
Sure.
And I'll have like really long, sharp candy nails and stuff. So
okay.
I'm really excited for it. You know, I like doing the weird stuff too.
I know, I do too. Actually, the makeup and like special effects, I think is the next thing on my list to like tackle myself.
Yeah.
Like I want to try actually applying it and like doing the whole thing. And then I look at my schedule and I go, yeah, that's probably not gonna be anytime soon, but it's a great goal, Dawn. You know, because that's part of the fun is the creating and the building. We were talking at the shoot over the weekend about, you know, and you and I have talked about this before too. It's like when you're trying to be creative with other people, how much do you put in before and how much do you put in the day of? Because you and I will be like, oh, just like bring all the things, and then we toss all the things together, and that's the thing that we get for that time. And it's so valuable. And other people are like, oh, I can't do that because they visually have to have like that whole thing built in. We're like, we got a theme, we're good. You know, it's fine.
Yeah, I mean, I usually like having, a mix, like something in mind, but I also just know if I have all the details planned in my head, everything's going to go horribly wrong. Yeah. So to be prepared to adapt and stuff anyways. So
yeah, no, I agree.
I was going to say I'm a very go with the flow person, but sometimes I'm not. I need something to go to plan. I don't like we'll just like, do you want to go out to eat next week or something? Right. Say, okay, when? I'll be in touch.
Then dinner's never happening.
Give me a day. Give me a time. Give me a place. What are we doing? And same with photo shoots. It's just like, I want the details. I'm not a big fan of hey, let's shoot time sometime. I'm like, okay, when? Whenever. I'm like, okay, bye. Like,
that's always why I like it when you're like, hey Dawn, what are you doing on blah blah blah. I'm like, I don't know, what are we doing?
So there's that too. Are you free on Friday? Am I?
Don't know. What do you want?
Right? It depends. Am I cleaning your basement or are we going to Disney World? Like,
exactly. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, let's see. I think we had about 10 more minutes left. Is there anything that we haven't covered that you would like to cover? Also, if there's anybody listening that has questions, please feel free to ask questions. We like them.
Always happy to answer questions. Let's see. It's like, I can always talk about until you ask me, what do you want to talk about?
But I'm like, all right, no, it's fine. It's fine. Let's talk about makeup.
Sure.
So a lot of models do their own makeup and some, use makeup artists like solely. And I know sometimes you do your makeup. How do you go about your makeup process? Like, is there a brand that you prefer? Is it just, you just go into whatever you got and make it happen? Or are you a little bit more planned?
Yeah, so 99.9% of the time I've done my own makeup. If I haven't done my own makeup, it's because I had something really cool I didn't know how to do, and I wanted Marlena to do it because she's awesome. Or if I'm doing like a really high profile shoot and I really want to look my best and make a good impression, I'll have her do just a typical glamour look or something.
Okay.
But I really think it's important to be able to do your own makeup. That's less money out of your pocket than hiring someone. It's good for photographers who don't want to book a makeup artist on top of the model. It's just fun really trying out.
Scott St. John. No questions, but you're both wonderful, and I don't need anything either.
Well, thank you. I love Scott St. John. He's a
I do
fantastic
too.
guy to work with.
I do too. You're one of our favorites, Scott.
But for makeup, honestly, I don't really have necessarily a preferred brand or anything. It can be really hard for me to find makeup that matches my skin tone because I'm very pale most of the time. And then I have one day in the sun and then suddenly I'm a whole other shade. Like it just takes like 10 minutes. And I'm a very red person. So when I'm trying to match my skin tone, I'm like, nope, this is just red. So I have to match it somewhere else on my body. That's what color this is supposed to be.
Right. I'm still getting over sunburn from Saturday, and I'm like, that was so stupid on my part because I usually wear that rash guard swimsuit, and I just didn't feel like going back to put it on, and I will not make that mistake again.
Yeah. But I like having lots of different colored stuff, so I'm prepared for different looks. I always like a themed makeup look of some kind, you know, eyeshadow, lipstick matching, whatever else. I also like to do special effects makeup. I've done zombie makeup a few times, which is really fun. You know, spirit glue is your best friend for if you gotta stick stuff on your face. Fake blood, of course, super duper. I really like, for a lot of the fantasy and horror stuff, I use Mehron, Mehron. They have really good face and body paint that really covers a whole lot. Like, I did a shoot with Josh Triggs where I was completely silver, and it just took like one little vial.
Yeah.
But I mixed with some fluid and I rubbed all over myself, and that was fantastic. And they have lots of really good colors.
It's all on my Amazon wish list right now.
I'll be trying out some stuff. I got some stuff that's supposed to like black out the inside of your mouth for horror.
Okay.
So I'll let you know how that goes.
Yeah, let me know.
I've tried out like drops you put in your eyes to make it look like you're crying blood. Like I've tried all kinds of stuff. What I do wish I could do is colored contacts. I've tried so many different brands. They all hurt my eyes just so much immediately if I can even get them in. I really want to have the cool like demon eyes or blacked out eyes or anything. I just can't do it. I haven't found any contacts that work for me.
With that being said, and because I ran into the same issue because I was trying to grab like the costume contacts that I was coming across, and they're too thick. Like they're just too thick to even get in or stay in once they are in.
Yeah.
But what was recommended to me, and because I don't need glasses, I don't have one, was to actually go get an eye exam, get all of the numbers and measurements and stuff so that I could get fitted for contacts. And then there's particular companies that will make the specialty ones based off of all your measurements. Have you tried that yet?
No, it's been recommended to me multiple times.
We'll do it together.
I hate going to any kind of doctor, any kind of appointment that I'm not already used to going to. Like my waxing appointment's totally fine because I've been doing that, you know, every 4 to 6 weeks for like 6 or 7 years now. So if I'm used to it, it's fine. Then you can wait in a little waiting room and make phone talk with some doctor I don't know. I hate it.
Well, I tell you what, if you're willing to give it a shot, I will do it with you because I still want to do it for myself.
Nice.
So if you're game and you really want to do it, I'll do it with you because I need to do it. It's on my list. She's like, I still don't want to do it, Dawn. I don't want to talk to the person.
Oh, right. Or like if I can't schedule something online, then forget about it.
I love your honesty.
It's weird. I don't like making decisions or taking charge person, but most of my friends aren't either. So I usually have to be the one to do it. Like everyone, you know, talking around the table, like, oh, so-and-so didn't get their order. Oh, what do we do? What do we do? I'm like, oh, I have to talk to somebody. Okay. So I can do it.
Right.
I just don't like doing it.
It's a choice. I got it. It's a choice.
Yeah, I think that comes from my parents who are very introverted. But my dad was also did a lot of the business side of computer things.
Okay.
So he's like, if I have to be able to talk to people, you have to be able to talk to people. So in a way, I'm grateful for it. Getting over my introverted anti-socialness.
I'm the complete opposite. I'd be like, what you need? I got you. You know, and I'm just like off and running. Sometimes it doesn't work in my favor. Most of the time it's fine. And then other times I'm like, I know that person just spit in somebody's food. I'm sorry, guys. I just asked the question.
Every introvert needs an extrovert friend.
I would give you that.
And thinking, actually, that kind of brings me back to what we're supposed to be talking about, the modeling photography, because you really have to be a people person.
Yeah, it
to
helps.
do modeling and photography. You have to be able to make small talk. You have to be able to be friendly and respond to people and not like sit in a corner.
Yeah.
You know, on your phone. It goes against everything I want. But again, I feel it's the acting. I am a persona. I am pretending to be a social butterfly.
Sure.
Like, oh, man, how's it going? Oh, my God. How are the kids? Blah, blah, blah. That's not me at all.
And then at the end of the day, you're like, oh, my God, I'm so tired. I don't want to do this anymore.
I'm just going to go home. Yep, watch TV.
My social battery is empty.
But yeah, so as always, just put on the persona. Be who you need to be for the photo shoot. And that goes for photography too, because if you're a photographer, whether you're working with models or if you're working with clients, standing there quietly taking pictures, not saying a word, is a little off-putting. Trust me, I get it. And sometimes as a photographer, I just get so in the zone that I'm not thinking about it. But it is nice to be just occasionally make interjections like, oh, hold that pose, or oh, that looks great, or you're doing a great job. Something, anything.
Yeah.
Say something.
I think it was Nicole Ream. I was working with her one day and I was like, yes, that's exactly. Yes. She goes, I love when you do that.
Yeah.
She's like, I know I'm doing something right. She's like, I don't know what I'm doing right, but she's like, I know I'm doing something right.
I love when the photographer looks at the back of the camera and you're like, I'm like, oh, let me see.
Gold. Well, actually, you know what? And that's another thing too. And I don't think that's actually come up as a topic. Some photographers will show the back of the camera. Some photographers will not show the back of the camera. How do you feel about that on both sides of the fence?
Honestly, it just depends on who I'm working with. Like as a model, I definitely appreciate seeing little sneak peeks. Sometimes I know if we're at a workshop or at a group event or something and everything is go, 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 I don't expect you to halt everything and stop the flow and show me something. If you want to show me something, or if you're like, this is amazing, I just have to show you, I'm very happy to look at it. And then just same as a photographer. If you want to see the back of the camera pictures, you can. I might not have you sit and go through every single one. And I'm always kind of like, sometimes I'm like, this isn't edited yet. It's going to look even better. Just you wait, you know? But I also get kind of anxiety, especially if it's a new model working with me, of we are getting pictures I can use, right? I'm not just being totally screwed over here. So I do totally get that side of it as well.
Yeah, well, and there's so much that I always hear like in the background. So some people, like I can tell I can show them the back of the camera, and there's some people that I know better than to show them the back of the camera because they've been so insecure the whole shoot that if I show them, they're going to fall apart.
Yeah.
Even though there's nothing wrong with the photos, they're going to fall apart.
Yeah.
And then when you and I shoot, I'll look through when we do the underwater, especially I'll look through to make sure like I haven't like missed all of your limbs, you know, trying to take a photo.
The underwater side is so difficult.
Well, exactly. Exactly. So it's like, if we don't look at like some of them, we can't, because I might go, oh, that looked amazing while I was under there. And then I go, oh no, can we do it again? Like, it's just like, can we do it again? So I think that's where looking at the back of the camera can be really beneficial sometimes. Is some models will adjust once they can visually see what you're asking for. Like, 'cause I'm not always great at explaining it sometimes. And then of course, I don't know about you, but then I'm like, no, do this with your foot. And then like, I'm dealing with my foot over here. And I'm like, I don't know if that looks right from my direction, but that's what I need you to do from your direction. But there was somewhere else I was going to segue with that. Oh, I know what it was. How do you handle it? And you don't actually have to answer this if you don't want to, but how do you handle when you get photos that you don't like? Do you post them or do they just live in a folder somewhere?
For the most part, they live in a folder
I
somewhere.
figured.
Usually, most of the time, I can find at least one picture
Okay.
that I find okay.
Manageable.
Fortunately, there's usually at least one. So I might just post
Okay.
the one because I do try because I know, especially um when I'm being paid, sometimes the photographers want the clout.
Okay.
They want the exposure on your page as
Sure.
part of the process.
Okay.
And I just do feel like it does hurt your feelings to not see the model post any of the
Post
pictures. And I
something.
know that from the photographer side where I feel like we did really good work together and the model never ever posted. I'm like, ooh, did she hate it? Oh, I get so anxious about it. So I do usually try to post and no matter what, of course, I'm always super grateful to the photographer for their time. And I always say, well, thank you. I really appreciate you getting the pictures out to me. I just
Yeah.
might not tell them I love them.
Sure. Sure. No, I get that. I
No,
get that. I mean,
I try
I've
to be
definitely,
honest, but I try to
I,
be
I,
nice honest.
yeah, I've had a few along the way where I just did not work well with the model for whatever reason,
Yeah.
whether it was like I didn't give them enough direction or whatever I shot. Like there's been a couple of times where I thought I had my settings where I wanted them, and I got home and I'm like, Dawn, what the fuck did you do? And you're looking at the photo going, you might be able to do something with that, but probably not. And then I'm like profusely apologizing online somewhere. But I have heard that before is, sometimes you guys get stuff back and you're just like, I don't know what to do with it. I only had, I think, one situation where I didn't like how somebody handled their social media after an event. Because that's another thing that I think a lot of people don't take into consideration. I actually had one model where if I hadn't met her before I saw her social media, I would have been a lot less likely to work with her because her social media was so self-deprecating that I wasn't sure I really wanted to be involved in it. Or associated with it, I guess is the better way of putting it. But really liked the model, worked just fine with the
Yeah.
model. But that shift of like, if this had happened first, would I have done this? You know what I mean?
So, and that just goes into, I think a lot of people treat their professional pages like a personal diary. And I'm
Sure.
not a huge fan of that. I don't think you should never ever talk about issues, but I think that people need to remember how to phrase things in certain ways. You can say, oh, hey, I just want to take today to talk about mental health or whatever. And then you can go
Right.
into explaining your side of mental health or whatever, but
Right.
maybe not do it, every single day. Or
Yeah.
like I kind of brought up the body image issues earlier that
Yeah.
most people have them, like pretty much everyone I know. I don't think I know anyone who just loves themselves
Of course.
24/7.
Yeah.
But it is one thing, like I understand that you feel fat right now, for example.
Right.
But I would phrase it that way. It makes me really uncomfortable when, size 0 models, like anyone, but particularly
I
if
get where
they're
you're going.
socially accepted as skinny.
Right.
Size 0
Right.
models who are like, I'm so fat, and they just post it constantly. I'm fat, I'm fat, I'm fat. You're
Right.
telling all of your viewers that if they're fatter than you, then they're really fat.
Right.
Like
Right. No, I get what you're
you need
saying.
to turn it into a thing, be like, hey, here's a, disclaimer talking about body image issues. I know
Right.
that
Right.
a lot of you don't see me this way, but this is how I view myself. And this is something I'm working
Yeah.
on, like trying to make it into a positive experience for your audience, because these are not your friends and family. These are
Right.
your clients. These are your professional colleagues. These are your coworkers
Mm-hmm.
and just the general public and stuff. And you need to be a positive influence. And again, that can
Absolutely.
mean talking about serious topics sometime, but you need to be able to put a positive spin, not being like, oh, I'm going to unalive myself, every
Yeah.
single day on your page.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I feel for you, but is this the best outlet?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I
no,
see we have
I'm with you.
another
We
question.
do. So, Scott and I have actually had this conversation before. He said, "Is this Scott St. John? How many photo edits do you expect, paid versus TFP?"
So definitely, I can tell you my personal view, but this is something that everyone needs to communicate with each other before working with each other, because everyone has different expectations. So I'm someone who, if you have paid me money and it wasn't at like a discount or something. If you've paid my regular rates, I enjoy getting pictures back from you, but you don't have to. You already gave me my payment,
Right.
which is money. So totally good to just shake hands and never see or talk to each other again if that's what you
Right.
want. For a trade shoot, I kind of hold my modeling expectations to what I offer as a photographer for TFP.
Okay.
And I think that usually 3 to 5 pictures per outfit or per location, like if I'm wearing the same outfit and going to a different location. Or if we only did one look, I would like at least 10 pictures back generally.
Sure.
And if I did my job as a model, you should have 10 fairly different pictures. Because I understand we don't want to edit 10 pictures that all look the same. I feel
Sure.
I completely get that. And then it's also different, which I've worked with Rain Imagery, another
Okay.
fantastic female photographer. She does high fantasy manipulation edits.
Okay.
That's going to be a different expectation because she
Sure.
spends like 20 hours editing one picture to, make it look like I'm a snow queen in a winter wonderland kind of thing. Like, no, I'm not expecting 10 pictures back from you, That's also something she communicates with me beforehand,
Right.
being like, just so you know, I'm doing it this way, so you'll only get like 2 or 3 pictures back from me.
Right.
So it's all about the communication. And some models, like you said earlier, do expect to be both paid and get pictures, which I don't fully understand because you're getting paid. And in that case, you should have a rate for, here's my rate for if you're getting me pictures back, and here's my rate for if you're not. Because there's always going to be photographers who don't want to. And if you really want to make that distinction, go ahead. But I say you're getting paid.
Yeah.
Do you want the money or do you want the photos?
Well, and I agree with you on, especially on the TFP, because I do so much of it. But I have found that 4 to 5 range of photos, like truly edited photos, not just 4 or 5 photos that have been edited, but that's about when people stop paying attention.
Yeah.
Especially if it's like one look and you're not changing location or anything along those lines. Once you hit about 4 or 5 poses, everybody's like, all right, I've seen it, and visually they've already disengaged. So it's like, once it goes beyond that, a lot of times it's almost a little much. Scott and I have had conversations before because, and Scott, am I allowed to talk about you? Yeah. I feel like I need to ask. I'm waiting for him to respond. Because some people have a tendency to, give all of the photos. And I've been asked for all of the photos before. And I'm like, you're not going to see from, oh, he said, yes, of course. Okay, thank you. I'm going to put it on here because that's my legal disclaimer that I can talk about Scott online. Scott and I have talked about the fact that he said, make up good shit. I'll work on it. What he was doing kind of early on, and I think he's adjusted a little bit since then, because we were having conversations about, he was taking like hundreds of photos and he was editing hundreds of photos, and then he was sending them to the gallery.
So much work you're putting yourself through.
And I'm like, well, the first time we had the conversation, I was like, you're kidding. And he goes, no. And I'm like, please stop doing that. I was like, save yourself some time, focus on your edits. But there are a lot of photographers, when they do the TFP, they just send all the photos. And I've had that asked of me. Before, and there's only been 2 people that I've given it to, and it was just 2 varying reasons. Because what I'm going to see from your photos that I snapshotted, that I took, is going to be completely different than what your edit is going to look like. Yep. So a photo you hate, I may love because I know what I want it to look like on the other end. And I think, and I don't know about for you, but I think a lot of times it's why I've started sharing like the before the edit photos. So often people don't know what the original photo looked like. Yeah. They don't know what you've done to it. They don't know the amount of time. And actually, Josh, I'm calling you out because he posted, it's your turn, kitten. He posted something today that I haven't chimed in on yet, but it was about a photographer had made a post about.
For every hour.
Yes.
9 hours of behind the scenes.
Yep. And it didn't say it was behind the scenes of editing. It wasn't 9 hours of editing. It just said it It was vague and just said 9 hours.
Yeah.
So there are other things in the mix there, of course, but you know, sometimes when we go to some of these events where it's like, okay, it's TFP from this time, and then you can pay for one-on-ones if you want, I still typically don't pay for the one-on-ones because I'm like, we all showed up, we all put the time in, and it's fine. You know, if you want to get paid, I'm not going to take that from you. If you want to work, we can do that while we're all here, but my time doesn't end here. Your time ends here today, but my time doesn't end here today. I still have to go home and make sure you actually like the photo I took. So I think sometimes that's the part that gets lost, is like everybody loves the end result, but they have absolutely no clue what goes into actually getting it done.
Yeah.
But all right, so we're on the same page. Like somewhere between like 3 to 5 photos is pretty average
per look.
Per look.
Yeah, per look.
Scott, do you want to chime in with anything extra? Yeah, and I agree with you. I think that's pretty fair. I mean, and especially considering skill set and skill level is another thing that factors into that too, on how long it might take for those photos to get done. I'm still learning. I'm probably going to be learning for like the next 20 years because there was always something different or new, or I come across something on YouTube. I'm like, I can do that. Like, how am I just learning that now? I didn't know I could do that because there's so many buttons and I don't know what they all do. Oh, actually, that's a good question for you while I'm waiting to see if Scott wants anything else.
Yeah.
What do you edit in? What's your preference?
I start in Lightroom and I do kind of the light, color, contrast, all that fixed.
Okay.
And then I like that because then I can just, for one photo of the set, I just have to edit that one. And then I just apply it to the rest. And then I usually go into, it's an online program called PicMonkey.
Oh, I used to have that.
It's very user friendly. Like I've tried Photoshop and there's so much going on in Photoshop. Photoshop is lovely. But PicMonkey is very user friendly, and I've gotten so dependent on it. And I use that for, you know, background correction, if there's blemishes, pimples, you know, basic skin smoothing. I personally prefer to not do too much body and skin edits because I want it to look like you.
Yeah.
But you know, I'll do the way I justify it to myself is like, okay, if we were really good at makeup, could we make your skin look a little different? Yes, we could. Right. So I try to kind of go along that line. Like I don't like, or like I'll do like okay, if they had sucked their tummy in just a little bit, or you know, getting rid of like if you get the little love handle. Yeah. Sometimes I'll just scooch that in just a little because that's not changing your body shape, in my opinion. And, you know, there's nothing wrong with people who do like the crazy, like extreme edits. That's just not what I prefer doing. I like how you look. That's why I took your picture, you know?
Well, I always have a conversation when I work with somebody new, and I go, okay, look, I like natural bodies. I usually leave them alone. I do a skin edit, always do a skin edit because the skin edit seems to be the thing that the masses find appealing, if that makes any sense. So
it kind of gives it that professional, polished look.
Exactly.
Whether it is professional, I don't know, but it looks
exactly. So I almost always do the skin edit, but there are times where kind of the same thing. Like even like with like the underwater stuff, sometimes like if you get a weird reflection in a spot, like if you just nudge it just a little bit is something. But I try not to do too much in the way of body modifications. Now, the other conversation I have is, you know, sometimes I work with people like even like myself, I have stretch marks. Yeah. So my question usually is, I love you just the way you are, but do you need me to remove those for you? You know, is that something that you embrace and you love, or is that something that you would like me to remove? I'm happy to do either. Now, I don't have to be that accommodating. We've done TFP. I can do whatever I want. Yeah. But my thought process on it is I don't want to give something to somebody and then that's the thing that they focus on. Yeah. You know, that one thing that they feel like is kind of a flaw is like the one thing that they focus on. And a good example of that was that photo that I just recently shared that Anastasia took of me like what, 2 years ago now? Yeah. Probably 2 years ago now.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
And I told her when she was taking the photos, I was like, just make sure I don't have the extra chin. And she did such a great job. I'm like, Girl, thank you. I was like, because it's that one thing. I'm like, I just want my jawline back, and I know I'm never gonna get it back at this age, but it's just like I miss it. So having that conversation with her, she edited it in a way that I loved it because I wasn't focused on that one thing that I'm always focused on in a photo. So that's usually kind of the thought process behind it. But Scott said it was the most fantastic answer I've ever heard in my life. Seriously, thank you. So I think it's good for him to hear it because I've already said it to him, and I've said it to him more than once every time we have a phone call. But
really, like, I used to edit a ton of pictures for models, but you only use 2 or 3 of them. So
yeah, exactly. Well, and I think that's another thing too. And you're really good. You and Anastasia both are really good about what content you put out. Like, you don't put the same thing out every day. That's one of my pet peeves sometimes with the social media stuff is like somebody gets like a full set of photos back. I don't mind if they're all in one post, but if I have to see one every single day, it starts to look like the same photo I saw on Monday, on Friday. So it's just like, oh, okay, that's another one from the set. Oh, okay, it's another one from the set. Like, I feel like it loses its appeal or its wow factor if it had a wow factor to it.
I like spreading stuff out so that way in the top 9 that you see immediately, you see a variety of content.
Yeah, that's smart.
All right, Dom. I think we should wrap it up. My food's here. I'm ready for dinner.
I didn't realize what time it was.
I know. No,
Thank
I've
you
had
so
a lovely
much.
time chatting. This is a great time.
Thank you. Oh, I'm glad you were able to join me because you were on my list and everybody else's list. Bye, honey.
Okay, bye.
Bye, guys.